in your heart, and let go of the day. I welcome you. My name is Clarissa, and I am hosting this talk on behalf of Conscious You. There were many AMA calls with Peter already. I think this is number 30, and they're always magical. Does everybody understand English? This is usually in English. Okay, good. So I'm just going to hand over to you, Peter. Is there anything?
Thank you, Clarissa. 30. Well, this resonates with my book, of course, 30 Lies About Money. So maybe we'll be telling some truths or telling some lies. And actually, for my little introduction, this fits very well because I've been watching some of these videos. There's more and more really interesting stuff coming up on YouTube, I'm finding nowadays, of higher and higher quality. But I've been wondering about, how much is really true and how much is fake. Because I saw a couple of videos of Yanis Varoufakis a couple of days ago, where he looked about 30 years younger than he had previously on the videos that I saw him. And they sounded like him, and it looked like him, but 30 years younger. And then he was giving some really important news there, and I haven't seen them on the news channels at all. So, I'm really wondering what we're watching nowadays, how much is true and how much is fake. And with this reflection, I came up with an idea of a new name for ourselves, which I've just shared with Sydney, who I see is online with us today. Hi, Sydney. I decided that we should call ourselves the realists. And what realist stands for is the really early adopters of life, of love in society today. Isn't that great? So let's call ourselves realists from here. And that's just my thought for the day. So I pass back to you, Clarissa.
Thank you
for this. I really nice to see so many familiar faces. And if any of you have just come out of Top Tier, the Zoom there where I invited everybody to come, you're most welcome to join. Thank you for coming.
Good. We like to start with a short breakout room, so everybody had a moment of being heard and also sharing some words. And in this breakout room, you can just introduce yourselves and also just share what's alive in you today. Also, maybe within regards to MoneyWorks or SourceWorks. And if you'd like, because I was today thinking about wishes, think of an outrageous wish, just for the fun of it.
That's Clarissa.
That sparks your fantasy. That's what I thought. I thought every great invention started with a wish. So,
are we ready?
And I think the breakout room is like 6 minutes or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's really just very brief.
And did you see, Nadia, a short brief breakout room?
Yes, it did. So so I think we're good to go, and I will join the newcomer in one of the rooms in a moment. So see you on the other side.
So I hope you had a good time sharing and hearing and speaking with each other. Anybody have something that's alive in you that you would like to bring into this room and ask Peter about? You can raise your hand. Yay, Nadia.
It's nice to be called on for once.
How interesting.
So yeah, I wanted to share something that is quite alive in me. So I was talking to somebody who's a young friend of ours. Peter knows him well, who works in sort of mainly climate action field, and he is thinking about leaving one of the groups that we are together part of, because he said, so after some digging I realized the reason why he wants to leave, and it's a place where we talk about source and money work and those kind of things. He said, well, it's actually in my field, like this topic of source brings up so much tension and creates so much discomfort, and then he said, I know that you say I don't always have to talk about it, and it's more how I embody it, but he said our fields are all so messy, right? And it's so difficult to find out who even started anything. And then there's so much reactivity the moment you raise this idea of any kind of hierarchy in the field, that he felt in some ways this is not serving him right now. So I challenged him a bit on that, of course, so we'll see what he decides. But I wondered, Peter, if you have any thoughts on this, how, we've talked about this before, I know, but how do we deal with this when people have this strong, strong reaction of going, well, this is just, the same old shit. There's just patriarchy and the old wine and new skins, and we're just reintroducing something through the back door. And yeah, any insights that come up for you?
Mm. I don't know. What comes to me is that, I've always said what we're doing is not 100% successful. And we don't want to, I've never wanted to make that claim. And so if we don't see another way of dealing with it, or, deal with ourselves with it, I think the thing to do is just to back off at that point. Well, that's been my approach. If there's nothing else that I can think of doing, it's like just admitting that it's okay, to have some failures, really. And if he needs to pull out, then he needs to pull out, and maybe he will come back at some point.
Of course.
But to really, really accept that at some point, to challenge as you have done, but to accept that from his source will know what's best. That's always the approach. So if his source is telling him he needs to pull out for whatever reason, then, we send him our love and let him go his way, and keep the door back open, that he can always come back in.
I mean, that's essentially what I told him exactly today, right? But I had an idea, and I wondered if you've ever experimented with this, because I thought if he is often working with, people who are considerably younger than you and I, in their sort of early 20s, who have this immediate reaction when anything enters their space that feels like hierarchy. I actually wondered if we could run a physical experiment around it, because suddenly I had this image in my mind where I thought, what happens if you instruct people to walk around the room, right? But then you give them no further instructions, and you sort of resist giving them any instructions. And I said to him, I think what will happen, but I've never tried this, and I wonder if you have, that at some point somebody's going to get so bored that they will do something, right? And they will maybe grab another person, and they will start a new movement in a way. And so the principle of sourcing, or the process of sourcing, will become visible in the room. And he actually said, "Oh, I've done workshops like that, and I think you're right, because that is what happens." Right. And I wondered if you have any experience with those kind of more physical embodied practices.
Well, I've never led that myself, but I've been participating in those, and I find them fantastic, actually. There's so much potential learning. And this is one of the advantages of like in-person processes where you can run such things. It has, the physical embodiment gives it another dimension for sure. So I fully support that. In our community meeting in Belgium a few weeks ago, we had some fantastic, and this was being led by Carol, some fantastic processes building one on the next like that. And they weren't boring at all, I can assure you. Nobody was bored. If they're led with the right sort of questions, like you're leading these online processes, from one step to the next, they can reveal a tremendous amount and be very, very helpful indeed. Whether it'll work in this particular case, I don't know, because I think it's not just in this particular situation, it's not just him with the younger people. I think it's him with a potential mentor, which is the real difficulty in what I remember.
It wasn't about that case, but
okay.
the more general question in his field. Okay,
yes.
But that helps. Thank you.
Okay.
So I'm.
And I would like to add something. I think there is this hierarchy coming up, but if I say it's all about just somehow like the energy. So if I am source, then your source just needs to understand that if you want to, you can become a server to my source. So kind of allowing everybody to understand that everybody is a source. I think that's one of the keys where I'm always like, then people relax a little bit. But in this case, you're serving my source, but if it's that other round, my source is serving your source. So I think the service question helps a little bit to diffuse the struggle with power question. If it's not about power, but it's also about the power of saying no to a project if it doesn't align with your source, kind of. That's what I wanted to.
Thank you.
Yes. Anybody got questions about that or a total different question?
Or any comments?
Or comments, as I just...
Well, I already made a comment. This is you made a comment in the text was that Nadia, exactly as what you were describing as being done at the NTL Institute and practitioners there, and it's called T groups, and it is people can be placed into a room like this group, and deliberately they do nothing, but really nothing, even the facilitators, and then you see things emerging, and you could I think link the elements of source to what is then happening. I don't know whether they do that. I know they don't do that, but it is very interesting to see what's happening in such a physical space, because it's a physical exercise. Really very interesting.
Yes, Pelle. Thank you, Joop.
Hello. I got a question that came up now. I have found in my own entrepreneurial ventures that I'm much more inspired and have a positive energy in the beginning of a project. And I see this in some entrepreneurs I work with also. When things grow and you start to get into more resistance, I and my fellow entrepreneurs lose that initial infatuation with this project. And then I see a guy like Richard Branson that seems to be having multiple initiatives, ventures, where he's just having fun. So I wonder, what is your experience? How do you deal with that, keeping that initial positive spark alive? Is there a way to transition? Is there a phase for that type of source and move on? Or is it the inner work that it's the limitation in me when I feel these other forces come in.
Well, thank you. That's quite a deep question. So let me just try and answer and see if it lands anywhere. Just from my own personal experience, really, that when you take an initiative, it's because you're inspired by some idea, and there's some energy and passion behind the idea. And generally speaking, if it's an idea which hasn't been realized yet, I think the main passion, which is what happened with me, is that you look around and you see that you're the only person that can actually do this. You might look for somebody else to try and do it first, but if there's nobody else that can do it, then it looks like the finger's pointing or the arrow's pointing at you. So then this is what many sources experience, and that's the initiative and the passion that gets them to start something. And then at some point, of course, you have the housekeeping to do as you create some kind of organizing. I don't want to call it organization. I want to call it organizing. And, the organizing can be a bit boring, but actually the key is, for me, has always been and still remains, is to remain in touch with the vision. And because the vision is what keeps the motivation going, just to keep remembering the vision and keep sharing the vision with others and allowing the vision to develop, because as a source person, you'll be receiving ideas all the time, and you need to sort those ideas out and figure out what the next step is. And while you're doing that, and while you're focused on that, actually, what my experience is, the housekeeping and everything that you need to do, you can just do. But it's the vision and figuring out what to do next is what at least keeps me alive, keeps me running. So, and this is what if you like, is the feedback I've got from doing all my research work from the other entrepreneurs as well. So in doing this, the second part of your question, well, do you need to keep developing? And the answer I would say is, well, that's very helpful too, of course. If you don't stop, because if you keep doing the inner work, you become more and more competent and competent to realize your vision as well. It's like the vision and the realization, the two things get closer the more that you do the inner work. And, each of us as entrepreneurs is challenged by this, because none of us are perfect. And as I was saying before, we're going to have our failures, but these can be used as little triggers to help us develop something inside ourselves so that we are better in the future and more competent in the future. So that would be my response. Does that land somewhere with you?
Yeah, it lands. It's what it sparks in me is that I think there is an idea I have that it's more fun to do multiple things in parallel, that I can have many flames burning and kind of spend my time where it's the most fun. And that's an ideal that maybe a young part in me wants to keep that alive, that it's some kind of burden that comes with pursuing one thing for a long time. So that's a thought I have, that this is where it's most fun, is when it's new and fresh and things are developing quickly.
Well, my guess is that, it looks like somebody like Elon Musk and Richard Branson are sourcing many different projects. But if we would really nail them down, we would find that actually it is actually one frame of a project or one vision within which they're doing all these different activities.
Right. Now that's interesting.
So my experience also from my research is that the people who are trying to create who don't have this frame and are just jumping from one thing to the next thing, they actually do have difficulty to land. It's like they become like rolling stones that gather no moss. So I do believe that, Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and Richard Branson do have an overlighting vision or an overlighting idea. In fact, I saw a recent interview with Elon Musk where he actually pretty well expressed this, and how his companies are actually all together in Starlink and Tesla, and they're basically, in his mind, they fit.
Yeah.
And he's doing it all. It's all one thing, actually.
It makes sense. It makes sense. I used to work for the Swedish equivalent of Richard Branson, which was a maverick here. That actually, what you're saying is exactly what he did. That they all kind of blended together, even though they were separate companies. It was part of one vision. So I understand what you're talking about there. So that makes sense. Yeah. Thank you.
Pleasure. I mean, I think if there's some inner work to do, maybe you go to Nadia or somebody else here on this side to see why you're getting bored or pulled down by what you've been doing for maybe for a long time. Maybe there is some inner work there.
I think there is, and I think I see something there also. But
okay,
I think we can leave it for now.
Okay, thank you, Pelle.
Thank you.
Sydney, you have a question, or you want to offer you're muted.
I just want to offer a little something in terms of what Nadia talked about and her interaction with that younger person, and what Pele talks about. And I come from more and more like a psychotherapeutic kind of orientation. And what I've learned in my inquiries with people is that even the most innocent things that just seem like a slight impediment on the surface of one's life have long legs. And our nervous system is conditioned to interpret situations in such a way as whether they're safe or unsafe, but also they have kind of legacy legs that don't make any sense today. So maybe for Pele, something that was novel had some sort of emotional reinforcement, I don't know, or something that lasted too long became dangerous. So I think that a lot of these things have legs into the nervous system and can be quite nicely opened and pacified and learned from with some inquiry. That's my point of view.
Thank you.
And just as I wasn't going to say anything today, but I did happen to have this little interaction with Peter, who just before we got on, and I only got on coincidentally thanks to my dear friend Monica, who operates as my automatic reminder system. So I got a text message, BKS, ask anything. Yeah, so this world of AI and this world of just being like alive, right? And I really mean alive, like Job last time said, oh, Sydney's falling in love with life, right? But you have to be open to that, you know? So Peter told me about the fakes in AI and being a realist. And I love being a realist and I love what he said. But I think really our future lies in becoming more and more human, more and more flexible in our nervous system responses, in our ability to really come from some kind of equilibrium between head, heart, and gut. But I'd give some sort of pulsing power to the heart in its, because I think it's a purely mammalian thing and it's really important. So yeah, so I just want to throw that out there. What does it mean to really be a human being? To be human as opposed to be in one's survival mode and reacting to life. I don't know if you have anything to say, Peter.
No,
But I do
I
think
don't see any.
because
I don't see any contradiction anyway.
yeah, I guess there's no contradiction. I don't know. No. I just want to say one thing. The projection work is great, and this identification of the projections with what's your projection on money or anything else, and the reclamations too. But there needs to be some, and it can happen with a methodology, or as I've seen Peter do it and others with some really great sensitivity and precision. There needs to be some kind of internal movement, something that's triggered, and not just a statement, I am a meanie and I love it. Although that will bring a big smile to many people's face, and that already is a wonderful indicator of reality. But so I don't know what you think about that, Peter, whether the projection work as we do it and the reclamation work is sufficient to really internalize the human potentiality expressed by a noun. I am, strong and I love it. I am weak and I'm with and without money, whatever it is. So
it needs to be fully, Sydney, I mean, it needs to be fully embodied.
Yes.
So what we're using, just to be clear here, we're using words and we're using phrases which have two aspects. They have meaning to start off with, but they also have vibration. And the way you have just phrased something, I am meanie, would be very different to somebody else in this room saying these same words. And this is what's key in the reclamation process, is that actually we're using the vibration there for the embodiment. And I claim once again, I think I've said it before in this Amma, I claim that all therapeutic work and all healing work and all coaching work is actually reclamation work. It's all reclamation of disassociated identity. Mm-hmm. So this only happens with embodiment, and we happen to be using this particular system uses words for that, but that's not the only medium, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that would be my response.
Thank you, Peter. That's very clarifying and broadening and correct, I find. Yeah.
Anybody else feeling a response or another question? Yay, Nadia.
I'm really using my time today, but actually this is not a question that I have directly to Peter, but Annalisa, I want to hijack you for a moment, because I know that you spent some time this year with Will Ruddick in Kenya, and I would be so interested in hearing about what you learned about money and about giving and receiving and all of these things connected, to our sphere around money.
Yes, it was very interesting. We were a group of 5 visiting Will, and there were some people who never had heard about the commitment pooling. So he explained a lot from the beginning. And what I realized is that he is really interested in creating equality and making decisions as a group. And that's where I always struggle a little bit, because I think what I learned from the source principles and watching in my own life, it doesn't work that way. But it seems to work sometimes, or it seems to work for him. And I asked him, what is the success factor, or why, when does it work and when doesn't it work? And then a co-worker answered, and she said they work with groups that are already familiar with each other. They don't. They failed with groups that don't know each other, and they have no trust.
Mm.
And my
Lisa, if you maybe even just give us a 2-sentence explanation of what a commitment pool is, because I don't think
Yes.
everybody here
okay.
knows what
Yes.
Will even does.
It's a special. It's okay. It's seeded by promises, so you have like a pool of vouchers, and you can put in whatever you want, what you think is worthy, and there should be a steward holding it and supporting the pool, so that really the things land in the pool that are worthy for a project, for example. And the seed is a gift. It's not, you don't get anything for the seed. But then you can pull out a voucher and you give a promise in that pool that has the same worth as the voucher you take out. And so it's a work, it sounds like barter, but it is not like barter. He says everybody has Schulden,
Debt.
a debt in this pool. So no financial institute could claim taxes, because nobody get taxed on debts. So when you put something out, you give a promise in, and the promise is not a delivery. It's only when somebody else puts it out, then pulls it out, then it's the delivery. But in the moment you get something, you have a debt.
And I'm wondering, in witnessing their process, were you present for any of the commitment pool meetings? Did you experience this?
No, they had one running for the garden, because Odd, the partner of Will, she creates a garden of permaculture. And she uses a lot of work of the surrounding people, the neighbors, and she helps them. So the main part of or interest of Will and Odd is to bring people together to work together on a project. For example, a garden or cleaning a house, or project that nobody can
do alone.
Do alone. Yes.
And I'm curious, did you share anything about the source principles with him? And if yes, was there any resonance at all?
I think he was a little bit curious, and I brought the book from Stefan Merkelbach, and I don't know if he has read it. I feel that he is curious, but not really sure about how it works, or if it works with source.
Peter, any questions from your end? Otherwise, thank you. I just wanted to hear if there are any reflections.
Not really questions. I mean, I have deep respect for him and what he's doing, and he's extremely, we say in English, prolific. I mean, his articles sending at least one a week, two, sometimes two a week. And they're quite varied on various subjects. But the central aspect is always this commitment pooling. And I think he's really onto something here. I mean, in terms of the foundation of, let's call them currencies, the foundation of human transactions, how we transact with one another. I think he's got the best expression that I've seen anywhere about the workability, how this works up to now. And the question is, and I think what is how this translates into modern society, and how this translates into, you know, what we're all doing in the everyday. So I think our field here is open. You know, it's like he's ahead of his time, like I've been a bit ahead of my time also. But I think we're open to experiment. We will be experimenting with the ideas in our own kind of way, I think, and using him as a resource. That's my sense as we go ahead. That really is my sense. I think we'll be very much basically aligned and attuned at the purpose of this at all, of what we're all doing together. So I welcome your research, Annalisa, and your connection there. And I've had connection with him briefly here, there, and there. He's particularly interested, I think, also in the money work, the inner work that we are doing. Maybe you've shared that with him too.
Yes, I talked a little bit about this.
Yeah.
But I felt not intelligent enough, or
Oh, come. Yeah.
No, it's the wrong word, but not comfortable enough to talk to him about source and money work.
Okay, so you know, he's really challenged by colleagues in his field who are basically failures. There are so many failures in the complementary currency field through not being willing to look at their own relationship to money. And he's surrounded by them, actually. You know, they all think they're doing the same work as him, but actually he's much further ahead than all of them.
Yes, that for me it feels that way too.
Yeah.
I think his naming of the promises and how the fact that the promise creates the debt, I think is the masterpiece on his work, of his work.
Yeah. And I've always said, for those that know of Bernard Lietaer, who's passed away and was for me the expert on currencies, community currencies, but all currencies. I've been saying that Will Ruddick is really his spiritual successor, and is taking and Bernard Lietaer always saw money as a promise. That was his definition. So you can see Will is kind of standing on his shoulders, I have a feeling.
Yeah. He says African people do understand it much easier because they have a word for this kind of working together. They call it, for example, Maria. This round work, or every round another family gets the support of the other neighbors. And they have a word for it. Yeah.
I would argue that all traditional cultures have that. We had that in Spain. I mean, or in the Basque Country, it's called auzolan, and it's actually the work of the neighborhood.
Yes, there's been research done on the ancestral communities and how they used to work this way. So it is not new, actually, at all.
Yes. And he says he was asked if how he would explain this to his neighbors, and he says it's very easy. When I start to explain, they know the word, the name of how they call it. Yeah. And he always says everybody in the world has words from the ancient culture, but we often forgot.
Yeah.
Can I quickly ask a question? So he created a currency that is sort of outside of the government, right?
Yes, he actually was very successful in creating community currencies. He's now in Africa, and he's now like, if I don't know if he would describe it this way, but I'll try and describe it. He's now kind of pulling back philosophically as well as practically. In other words, he put into practice these things just hands-on, just from his intuition and from his background as I think an engineer, a scientist, and a physicist, or whatever he was, an American. He just put this all into action. And I think what he's doing now is trying to explain it philosophically and practically so that it can be understood and spread more. Is that a good description, Anna? Lisa?
Yes. And he doesn't like the word currency anymore, because he says when he uses this terminus currency, everybody has a picture
Fixed
of it.
idea, yeah.
Fixed idea, yes. And it disturbs what he really wants to do. It's more about working together and keeping track of who did what and how to build trust or to extend trust in this community. That's what he really wants to do.
Yeah.
And the name currency is misleading often.
And Clarissa, to your question, what he offers is a blockchain that is already installed that everyone can use. And so he's explaining how communities wherever in the world can use that blockchain. And then everyone can create its own currency or money, and I can call it Monica's dollar or whatever. So this just in addition to what Peter and Annalisa shared.
Thank you.
So it's already there to use.
So, but if you create the Monica's dollar, can that be used in that same blockchain that I'm using my Clarissa dollar? If we
Yes.
are in the same Peter Koenig system?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It's all convertible towards the others. Yeah.
Interesting.
They
I
are-
cannot fully cannot fully grasp it yet, but I think I saw
Yes.
some videos by him. Yeah.
He's a brilliant thinker, so for people with smaller brains, it's not so easy to understand, like for myself.
Thank you.
No, for myself. I mean,
I know it's all good.
I mean, there are groups who use the same technique and are not connected, not necessarily connected, but it's a possibility. You can use a pool and be connected to other pools, or you can use a pool that is completely separate from the others.
Okay.
And use the same technique and the same blockchain.
So to bring this into towards a completion, this has been a vision, of course, within my field, to have an internal currency, using the word currency, for serving each other with things that we love doing. And this was the basis for what I called intrinsic coin, which may, again, was before its time, but actually would, I think, very well fit into what Will is thinking as well. I don't think it would be so apart from what he is thinking. And my sense is that this is going to happen at some point. I think, just from the interest from this Ask Me Anything, you can see, just that is an indication for me that there is an interest in doing what Will is actually saying, which is really where I was coming from with intrinsic coin as well, that we have such talent within our field and we can serve each other with our various different expertise, but not necessarily in the normal currency, but just find a currency internally where we serve each other, but that we're not gifting all the time, that we can do some kind of counting as well. It's not to abolish gift at all, but to say, to keep things a little bit in balance, which I guess was the original intention of a balance sheet, to keep things in balance so that there is flow happening, because without keeping tally with our minds at the moment, where we are with our consciousness, without keeping tally at some level with it, now it's maybe blockchain, it seems that the flow doesn't occur. This has been the problem with the complementary currency systems. The complementary currency systems have just replicated the larger systems up to now, most of them. And so this is, I don't see this, or even what Will is suggesting, as an ultimate step, but it is a step, I believe, to create such a system which will be an advance of our present level of consciousness, but not the end step. Because at the end step, when we are so conscious, we can all throw money away, actually, and we'll just be serving each other. But we're far from that at the moment. So that's why we're using dollars and Swiss francs and euros at the moment, because we're so far from that. But definitely Will Ruddick's process and these new forms of complementary, developing forms of other currencies are a step in a further direction related to a high level of consciousness. So that's my final word on that.
Thank you.
Nadia?
There is a funny movie out from actually 1996 that a species from outer space comes and visits or talks about Earth. Oh, they're still using money? And stuff like this is very funny. They were already talking about this, like 30 years ago. The well advanced. Yes, anybody else want to have one more last question? I think we're coming towards an end, right? Yeah. I guess it's end of the year and we're kind of feeling more slow than wanting to open up another something.
So just wishing everybody really a great time, nice, peaceful time, loving time for holidays, and a good start to 2026. Who knows where we'll be in 12 months' time? We'll see.
Yes. And we can do the see you money goodbye handshake, trying to find somebody in a tile above or below and say hi, bye.
Bye-bye, and thank you,
Bye-bye.
Clarissa.
Bye, people.
Thank you,
And
Nadia.
you.
Bye, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very
Happy holidays.
happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.
Everything.
Thank you for coming.
Merry
Enjoy.
Christmas.